Signetti versus DeBoer, Simpson versus Mendoza, and Alabama against Indiana in the Rose Bowl game. We'll talk about all of the things that Indiana is going to have to do to come out victorious in this game and what are the tendencies of Alabama. Let's get into it.
Pretty simple. I win.
Hello, guys, and welcome to Indiana Sports Connection. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this community. So we have a lot to talk about on the show today. We're going to talk about the Rose Bowl game. What are the things that Alabama does well? We're going to talk about the quarterback matchup, the coaching matchup. We're going to talk about Alabama, what they do on defense, what they do on offense so well, how they were able to beat, because I just watched that game, how they were able to beat Georgia, and we're going to talk about that's the same type of way that they could beat Indiana and through the air. But if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you for being here. Hit that thumbs up button. Pump this video out to tons of Hoosier fans across the country, across the globe. This is an Indiana Sports Connection where the most passionate fans come to talk about the games. 10% of the AdSense revenue goes to t2t.org. And now, without further ado, let's get into talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. Hey, hillbilly monkey. I almost ran out of breath there. Let's get right into talking about it. The marquee matchup of this game, obviously, is Mendoza against Simpson. These are two guys, might be the best quarterback matchup out of any game that's played in the college football playoff, because both of these dudes are probably going to go in the top 10 of the first round of the NFL draft. Ty Simpson, tons of upside for this guy. Super talented. When he gets on a roll, when he gets streaky, he is really tough to stop. That's where Indiana's defense is going to have to force him. This Alabama team and him, not getting into their defense and everything, but they throw the ball a ton. They throw the ball in a ball control type game. Now, will that benefit Indiana's defense way more? Because Indiana's defense is going to have a lot of balls being thrown into their secondary. We know how many tip balls and passes their secondary has. And Ty Simpson, he's going to have to not glitch out when the rush is coming at him. He has a tendency, Ty Simpson's tendency is when he sees the rush coming and he gets under a lot of pressure, he just glitches out and will just throw the ball into coverage. And if Indiana does that on defense and puts him in those positions, then Indiana will take this game. Mendoza, on the other hand, Indiana has a lot more of a balanced attack, a mid-range passing game. They're not going to be going for the home run balls as much like to Robinson. That's what Ty Simpson will do. And so Mendoza's going to, and the Hoosiers are going to play more of a methodical run the ball, throw the ball to their playmakers in the mid-range game. And then take your shots down the field to Charlie Becker, Umar Cooper, and Surratt when you really need to. That's been Indiana's formula. I don't see it changing. They have Hemby, Black, Martin at running back positions that are going to grind the ball. And so Mendoza, I just think the advantage, Ty Simpson might be have a little bit more arm talent. I can tell by just watching him, the way he throws the ball. Maybe he's a little bit better arm talent-wise than Mendoza, but overall, Indiana's offense is a lot more well-rounded. So I think it gives the advantage to Mendoza that he can lean on the running game more and that type of thing. And Indiana's good in the run game. So let's go to the next point of this. Alabama's offense against Indiana's defense, not just looking at the quarterbacks, but Indiana's defense is going to have to get home. It is a huge deal that Stephen Daly is not playing in this game. He is one dude who is just relentless on the defensive end, getting into the backfield, making tackles for loss, making plays, and just wreaking havoc. So the other guys for Indiana, and it doesn't matter who it's going to be. It's Elijah Hardy, Aiden Fisher, or Jones, Isaiah Jones. Those dudes are going to be coming on the blitz. Indiana's going to have to disguise things and make things look like a certain way to Ty Simpson at the snap and then rotate safeties around. And if Alabama cannot run the ball against Indiana's defense, see a spot where Indiana only has to keep 6 or 7 guys around in the box, something like that, and then being able to double team Robinson the entire game. That is, to me, is the X factor. If Alabama can't run the ball and you are able to double team Robinson, and Alabama has to force the ball into tighter and tighter windows as the game goes along, that's where you see the advantage for Indiana. They're not able to run it, and they're throwing the ball, and Indiana has more guys than they need enough in coverage, and they're able to disguise those coverages and still get pressure. But will Alabama come out and try to run the ball? Alabama has not ran the ball well. I went back and watched that Georgia game, and they did run the ball on them in a more decent way. They went over 100 yards, but for the most part, Alabama, even against teams that suck against the run, they're getting like 70 yards on the ground. So, Indiana, this is one position where it benefits Alabama maybe a little bit that, Indiana has the third best rushing defense to stop the run in the country, and that goes a long way when you're facing Julian Sayin and trying to put the ball into the quarterback's hands. Now, Alabama, this might be one where we have kryptonite, and we're bringing kryptonite in a fight against Batman, if that makes any sense. Because, we're coming in, we're good at stopping the run. Alabama's like, well, we don't run the ball. Alabama's running game is ranked 120th in the country right now. So you got Indiana's third-ranked rushing defense going against their terrible rushing offense. So it's pretty much like a crapshoot right there. Where what I said before is where Indiana's going to win the game. If they can't run the ball and Indiana's able to double team Robinson and get more guys into the secondary and get tip passes and still get pressure on him in the passing game by bringing an extra guy on the blitz, that's where you force Ty Simpson into those positions where the rush is coming at his face. He's got to get rid of it. He's throwing it at tighter and tighter windows and eventually makes a mistake. I think my prediction, Indiana gets 2 picks in this game. And stay tuned. We'll have the final score. What I think the final score is going to be coming up here next. But we take a look at Alabama's defense playing against Indiana's offense. Let me say this first about Indiana's offense. After this will be 26 days off between December 6th playing in that Big Ten championship game and then playing in this game on January 1st. So the combination of Alabama got to the quarterback last week. I know that Mateer is not Mendoza, but Mateer played like absolute garbage. They sacked him 5 times in that game, the game against Oklahoma, and they are getting Overton back in this game. One of their best, KT Overton, one of their best rushers, edge rushers for Alabama. So that is huge news for Alabama. You add in that, and also let's not forget there were games, and he didn't do it in the Ohio State game. He did in the Wisconsin game some, but there were times where Mendoza, and I know many of us have forgot about this because it's been a while since we watched these games, but there were a lot of times where he was hanging on to the ball too long. Mendoza cannot take like 4 or 5 sacks in this game and, let this game go that direction. What will help Indiana's offense playing against this Alabama Crimson Tide defense that's probably going to try to really get after Mendoza and make him feel uncomfortable? What would really help Indiana is to come out and get some first downs on the ground, be able to get Black and Hemby, get all the Black and Hemby going like right away and see some of those warrior runs and get some first downs and just be able to ease into the game and maybe get some screen passes or some nice short passes for Mendoza early on in the game to get him kind of back into the flow of the game and that type of thing. I see Indiana. I definitely see a spot where Indiana could come out and not look great on offense in the first couple of drives, and maybe that could happen. Indiana will not panic in that situation because that happens a lot in these games where, especially after a team has been off for the amount of time. So, that's what I think would be an ideal situation for Indiana on offense, would be to get the running game going early, some short screen passes, 2 first downs, get it going, and then go from there. Alabama has been able to play a ball control game with their offense, and they're going to try to do that. They're going to try to. In the game that they beat Georgia, they really beat them in time of possession and threw the ball a lot. So they're comfortable throwing the ball a lot. Indiana's just going to have to be ready for that because the last thing you want is them to be running the clock and getting first down after first down. And, you're just sitting over on the bench and you can't do anything on offense. What is my final prediction in this game? I got Indiana winning this 27-17. IU has not beat themselves all year. I just don't see a scenario where Alabama throwing the ball over and over again against Indiana's pass rush, and as good as Indiana's secondary is, I just don't see that being a recipe for them to win this game. I think Alabama will try to run the ball some, maybe for like 50 yards, but have limited success. But I think ultimately it's just going to be that Indiana's more well-rounded offense that's able to run the ball on Alabama and kind of mix it up in the passing game. That is where I think the key is. I think Indiana's offense is able to dominate the ball as the game goes on, and then Indiana's defense is able to get a couple of key turnovers against them and force Ty Simpson into some positions where he's not going to be that comfortable.
Indiana comes away with it.
Tell me what you think is going to happen in the comments down below. Hillbilly Monkey, are you ready for the granddaddy of them all?
Carved from the sands of the Wabash River and formed into a monkey lamp that's sold at Home Goods. It's the Hillbilly Monkey Perspective on Indiana Sports Connection.
Oh, you better believe I'm ready for the granddaddy of them all. When you're over 100-year-old monkey that's trapped in a gargoyle's body that is situated on somebody's stand looking directly at the TV, I've been waiting for this my whole life and I ain't moving at this point. I mean, the Hoosiers, this is so ironic to see them ranked number 1 playing the big bad Alabama Crimson Tide. There's going to be a lot of crimson down there. Maybe a little less cream, but there's going to be a lot of crimson down there in the Rose Bowl game. It's going to be all crimson and we're going to be all fired up by the time we're watching it.
Well, you're right about that. We're going to be fired up when we're watching it, that's for sure. But tell me what you think in the comments down below. What do you think the X factors are for Indiana? Do you think the Daly injury matters more? I think that Indiana is going to really mix it up on defense and bring a lot of exotic looks. I think they do a great job of switching guys around. And I think as the game goes on, if Alabama gets more and more one-dimensional and they're not really trying to run the ball at all, I think that bodes well for Indiana to really tee off on the quarterback and force him into making some big problems. One thing I didn't bring up that I wanted to bring up is like how Alabama like really kind of flipped the script when they were playing so badly. That's one thing that kind of bothers me about this game. Like, would Alabama have they caught lightning in the bottle over the past couple of quarters, and will they keep that momentum going into this game? That is maybe one of the things I wanted to bring up right here, because look at it this way. Alabama they looked like crap against Georgia, and they lost to Georgia in the SEC championship game, even though they beat Georgia earlier in the season. And then, they really looked bad against Oklahoma in the first half of that game. And when I was watching that game, I thought, wow, Alabama does not look good. Now we're playing Alabama because, they turned it around in that second half. Will they keep that going? Did they find something there where they found another level of confidence and they'll keep that going into this Rose Bowl game? Or will Indiana and their relentless effort and everything on defense just snuff that candle out right then? I think Indiana's going to snuff that candle out right then. They got to get it done. It is super ironic that Indiana's the 1 seed and Alabama's the 9 seed. The one thing I did not talk about, the coaching matchup, the advantage in that goes to DeBoer. He was able to win a lot of tight games when he was at Washington, and then what he's been able to do under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of pressure at Alabama, and they deserve to be in the playoff. I'm sorry, they deserve to be in. You should not be penalized for losing to Georgia in that game. I don't care. Notre Dame doesn't even have a game like that they're signed up for, so they shouldn't even be considered because they're not even allowed to play in a game like that. So I do think Alabama deserves to be in. They beat Georgia once. That is one of the best wins. Really, the Indiana win over Oregon at Oregon, and then the game that Alabama beat Georgia at Georgia. Those are probably the 2 best wins on the season. And then throw Indiana's Big Ten win against Ohio State. That's probably the 3 best wins any team's had all season in college football. So take that all into account. This is going to be a tight game. 27-17. The Hoosiers get it done with a couple of turnovers and being able to run the ball over 120 yards on them and get everybody involved. I think they're going to have a balanced attack on offense, and they're just going to be able to stay on the field and beat the Crimson Tide, and it'll be glorious. This is always not because the Big Ten, because the Big Ten plays in it, but the Rose Bowl, it has been my favorite game, if that even matters, just to watch to watch Indiana play in it. It is just like a special treat for all of us to be able to watch this play out and how Indiana is playing in the granddaddy of them all. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I don't even have to say it. We're all so pumped up about it. But thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. Until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.